The Aurora drifted quietly through the endless darkness of space, a lone speck of human ingenuity surrounded by the cold void. Its hull reflected the dim light of distant stars, glimmering like a fragile jewel suspended in nothingness. On board, the crew moved with practiced efficiency, the hum of machinery and soft chatter of conversations blending into a rhythm that felt almost comforting. Life aboard the research vessel was routine, almost monotonous, but it was a routine they had grown to depend on. Each day followed a careful schedule, monitoring instruments, conducting experiments, logging observations, and ensuring the ship's delicate systems stayed in balance. The captain, a seasoned woman with sharp eyes and quiet authority, often walked the corridors, observing her crew with a mix of pride and concern. She had been through countless missions before, and the loneliness of deep space was nothing new to her. Still, she never underestimated the unpredictability of the universe. Space could seem calm and infinite, yet it harbored dangers beyond imagination. The Aurora was not a warship, it was a vessel of knowledge, designed to explore, to learn, and to uncover the mysteries of the cosmos. And yet, as the crew would soon discover, even the most peaceful missions could lead to chaos. The scientists aboard the ship were a varied bunch. There was Dr. Elias, the physicist, who spent most of his hours hunched over instruments, analyzing data from distant stars and galaxies. His curiosity was matched only by his stubbornness. He refused to accept anything as trivial. Then there was Mara, the biologist, fascinated by the faint traces of life detected in the farthest reaches of space. She often wandered the observation deck, staring at nebulae and star clusters, imagining the worlds that might exist out there, worlds untouched by human hands. And there was Jonas, the communications officer, a quiet man who spent more time listening to the static of space than engaging with the crew. He had an uncanny ability to detect even the slightest anomalies in the signals the ship received, a skill that would soon prove invaluable. For weeks, everything had been calm. The Aurora glided through uncharted space, far beyond any human colony or established route. The crew had grown comfortable in their isolation, finding solace in their routines and the small comforts of ship life. Shared meals, casual conversations, and the occasional game of cards in the recreation room. There was a sense of predictability, a feeling that, for once, they were safe in a universe that often felt hostile and indifferent. Then, subtle changes began to appear. It started with the instruments. Small discrepancies in readings that initially seemed insignificant. A sensor would flicker, a signal would spike momentarily, or an energy pattern would appear on the screen only to vanish seconds later. Dr. Elias noted these anomalies, but he dismissed them as equipment quirks. Mara noticed unusual electromagnetic pulses that interfered with her experiments but shrugged them off, assuming space was always unpredictable. Even Jonas, who prided himself on noticing everything, felt a growing unease that he couldn't quite explain. One night, while most of the crew slept, Jonas lingered in the communications bay, scanning frequencies as he always did. That's when he noticed it. A faint, irregular signal, unlike anything he had encountered before. At first he thought it was interference, a random blip from a distant star. But as he adjusted the receivers, the signal became clearer, its pattern deliberate and unmistakably artificial. It wasn't just a random noise in the cosmos, it was a call for help, a distress signal encoded in a way that seemed almost urgent, almost desperate. Jonas immediately alerted the captain. The message was fragmented, scattered across multiple frequencies, but its meaning was clear. Someone, or something, was in trouble. The coordinates embedded within the signal pointed to an uncharted system far beyond the Aurora's planned route. The crew gathered in the command room, studying the message with a mix of excitement and trepidation. It was the kind of discovery they had all dreamed of, a genuine call for help from deep space. But it also brought with it a sense of dread. Nobody knew what they would find if they followed it. Debate erupted among the crew. Some argued it was too dangerous to investigate. They had limited supplies, and the Aurora was not equipped for conflict. Others insisted that ignoring the signal was unthinkable. After all, if someone out there was in danger, they had a moral obligation to respond. The captain weighed the arguments carefully. She knew that space exploration was never without risk, but she also believed in the fundamental responsibility of humans to help those in need. After a tense discussion, she made the decision. The Aurora would follow the SOS. As the ship changed course, the atmosphere on board shifted. The crew became hyper-aware of their surroundings, monitoring every system, scanning every signal. Nights that once felt calm now carried a subtle tension, a sense that something unknown was waiting for them. Mara spent hours at the observation deck, staring into the dark expanse, imagining the possible worlds they would encounter. Dr. Elias double-checked every reading, trying to make sense of the strange energy spikes that seemed to accompany the SOS. Even the captain, usually composed and unwavering, found herself glancing at the stars with a mixture of anticipation and unease. The journey to the coordinates was not easy. This base, despite its appearance of serenity, had its own perils. Asteroid fields loomed on the ship's path, and unexpected gravitational anomalies threatened to pull the Aurora off course. Yet, the crew worked together, relying on their training, their instincts, and their trust in each other. Every obstacle they overcame brought them closer as a team, and the sense of purpose that the SOS had instilled in them grew stronger. During this phase of the mission, small personal stories unfolded. Mara discovered patterns in the cosmic radiation that suggested distant life, while Dr. Elias theorized about the technology behind the mysterious distress signal. Jonas spent sleepless nights deciphering every nuance, convinced that the SOS contained more information than anyone realized. Even ordinary tasks, like repairing a failing reactor or recalibrating sensors, became acts of quiet heroism, as each crew member understood that their actions could mean the difference between success and disaster. As they approached the system, the first signs of danger became apparent. The sensors detected debris fields, remnants of something destroyed long before their arrival. Strange energy readings intensified, creating a low hum throughout the ship, a sound that unsettled even the most stoic crew members. Shadows seemed to move across the observation windows, though the crew could see nothing outside. It was as if the universe itself was warning them, testing their resolve before the final reveal. In the quiet moments, when the ship glided through the void and the hum of engines was the only sound, the crew reflected on what had brought them here. The SOS had acted as a beacon, not just across space, but across humanity itself. It had summoned them from their isolated routines, reminding them that the universe was full of mysteries, dangers, and the possibility of connection. And though none of them could predict what lay ahead, they shared a growing certainty. Whatever awaited them, they would face it together, guided by curiosity, courage, and an unwavering commitment to help. The Aurora had transformed from a simple research vessel into a ship carrying the weight of a greater purpose. The crew, once comfortable in their routines, now felt the electric thrill of adventure and the heavy burden of responsibility. The faint SOS, so easily dismissed at first, had awakened something deeper within each of them, a recognition that the universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of calls that humanity was meant to answer. And as they approached the coordinates, none of them could imagine that this simple distress signal would soon lead to the greatest challenge humanity had ever faced. The Aurora moved steadily toward the coordinates embedded in the SOS signal, cutting through the cold emptiness of space with a quiet determination. The ship's engines hummed, a low but constant reminder of humanity's fragile presence in the vast darkness. The crew, though experienced in exploration, felt a growing sense of anticipation. Each passing light year brought them closer to the unknown, and the unknown, as always, carried both hope and danger. The air inside the Aurora was charged with tension, a mixture of excitement and unease that could be felt even in the quiet hum of the ship's corridors. Jonas, the communications officer, remained glued to the signals, his fingers constantly adjusting the dials and switches on the console. The SOS had grown stronger as they neared the designated system, but its pattern was still irregular and difficult to decipher. He spent hours trying to piece together the fragments of the message, aware that even the smallest clue might reveal what awaited them. Each time the signal shifted or glitched, he felt a pang of frustration mixed with urgency. Whoever or whatever had sent this message was relying on them, and the responsibility weighed heavily. Dr. Elias observed the readings with a mixture of fascination and caution. The energy levels around the destination system were unlike anything he had seen before. Waves of radiation, fluctuating magnetic fields, and unexplained anomalies suggested that the SOS was not a simple call for help. It was a warning. He ran simulations and cross-checked the data, trying to predict what might be waiting for the Aurora. His mind raced with possibilities, some thrilling, some terrifying, but he knew one thing for certain. The crew was about to encounter something extraordinary. Mara spent her time scanning for signs of life. Her instruments picked up traces of organic material scattered across the vastness of space, hints of previous activity in the system they were approaching. She couldn't see the life forms directly, but the patterns suggested that intelligent beings had once occupied this region. It was a haunting realization. The SOS could be the final cry of a civilization in distress, a desperate plea sent across the void in hopes that someone would answer. Mara felt a shiver run down her spine every time she thought about what that meant. They were traveling not to observe, but to potentially intervene in a situation that could have catastrophic consequences. As the Aurora drew closer, the first physical signs of the unknown appeared. Debris fields drifted silently in the system, remnants of something that had been destroyed long before. Jagged fragments of metal and strange crystalline structures floated in orbit, casting eerie shadows across the Aurora's hull. The crew stared in silence, absorbing the scale of what they were witnessing. This was no ordinary SOS. It came from a place scarred by conflict, where destruction had already occurred. The distress call was not just a signal, it was a warning, a marker of danger that demanded careful attention. The captain called the crew together for a briefing. They gathered in the command room, faces illuminated by the soft glow of the control panels. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. She outlined their plan. They would approach cautiously, maintain constant communication, and remain ready for any possible scenario. The message had been clear. They were entering uncharted and potentially hostile territory, and caution was essential. The crew nodded, understanding the gravity of their mission. They were not simply explorers. They were the first human responders to a crisis beyond Earth's borders. During the journey, the Aurora experienced strange phenomena. Fluctuations in gravity caused brief moments of disorientation. Instruments would randomly spike with false readings, creating a sense of unease. Sometimes, the lights flickered as if echoing the tension in the air. Crew members reported strange noises, low hums, or distant metallic clanks. Though no source could be found, the ship itself seemed to react to the signals they were pursuing, as if the very universe was testing their resolve. Sleep became difficult. Even in the quiet moments, the crew felt a pervasive sense of being watched, a reminder that they were entering territory far beyond human experience. Jonas made a breakthrough one evening. By carefully analyzing the SOS patterns, he discovered that the signal contained layers of information hidden within the main distress message. Coordinates, warnings, and fragments of a language he couldn't fully interpret were embedded within the transmission. It was as if whoever sent it had anticipated that only a capable crew could decode it properly. Jonas shared his findings with Dr. Elias and the captain. The realization brought both excitement and fear. They were being guided towards something. But that guidance also suggested intelligence behind the disaster. The SOS was not random. It was purposeful, deliberate, and urgent. The crew began preparing for what they might encounter. Emergency drills were conducted. Systems were double-checked and defensive protocols were reviewed, even though the Aurora was not designed for combat. Every crew member understood that exploration now carried risk. The mission had transformed from a scientific expedition into a test of courage and ingenuity. Small personal moments occurred amid the tension. Mara journaled her observations and thoughts, reflecting on the fragility of life in the cosmos. Dr. Elias debated theoretical possibilities with her, sharing both hope and fear. Jonas stayed at the communications console for hours, determined to uncover the full meaning of the signal. These moments humanized the crew, highlighting their resilience, curiosity, and shared determination. As they reached the final stretch toward the coordinates, the SOS became even clearer, a pulsing beacon that seemed to cut through the darkness like a call echoing across eternity. The Aurora's sensors detected a massive object at the center of the debris field. It was unlike anything the crew had ever seen, a colossal vessel, broken and scarred, drifting silently as if waiting for them. The shape was partially obscured by smoke and energy discharges, but its size and design suggested advanced technology far beyond human understanding. For a moment, the crew was silent, overwhelmed by the sheer scale and mystery of what they had found. The captain made the decision to proceed with extreme caution. The Aurora navigated slowly through the debris, avoiding sharp fragments and unstable structures. Every maneuver was precise, calculated to minimize risk. As they approached the alien vessel, the atmosphere on the ship became almost tangible, a mixture of fear, awe, and determination. They were no longer observers. They were participants in a moment that could shape the course of human history. The SOS had summoned them to this point, and there was no turning back. Finally, the Aurora reached a stable position near the alien ship. The fragments of the SOS signal aligned with the debris, revealing a clear pattern. The distress call was not just a warning but a plea for rescue. It carried information about what had happened, the technology of the alien vessel, and the nature of the threat that had destroyed it. The crew felt the weight of responsibility settle over them. They were now the first human eyes to witness the aftermath of an interstellar catastrophe, and their actions would have consequences far beyond their understanding at this moment. The crew experienced a mixture of relief and dread. They had made it to the coordinates, successfully navigating uncharted dangers, but the true challenge was only beginning. The alien vessel, though broken, seemed alive with energy, hinting that the crisis was not over. The SOS had led them here, but it was clear that whatever had sent it was still in peril, and whatever danger had destroyed this civilization might not be finished. The Aurora transformed from a simple research ship into a beacon of hope and humanity's first line of response to an unknown interstellar crisis. Each crew member understood the enormity of their task. They were venturing into the unknown not for discovery alone, but to respond to a plea that could save countless lives. The journey to the SOS had tested their skills, patience, and courage, and the final approach marked the moment when the unknown became immediate, urgent, and undeniably real. As the Aurora hovered near the alien ship, the crew prepared for the next step. Instruments were recalibrated, scanners focused, and emergency protocols reviewed once more. Every eye was on the ship, every mind alert to the unknown. They were about to make contact with a civilization that had been devastated, and the SOS that had summoned them would soon reveal its full story. The phase ended with a quiet, tense anticipation, the calm before humanity's first encounter with a threat unlike any they had imagined, and the first step toward an adventure that would change them forever. The Aurora drifted cautiously closer to the alien vessel, its sensors scanning every surface, every shadow, for signs of life or danger. The wreckage was immense, a broken giant floating silently in the void. Its hull was scarred, torn in multiple places as if something had attacked it with devastating force. Jagged metal protruded from the edges, glowing faintly with residual energy. The crew stared in awe and horror, realizing that whatever had destroyed this ship had done so with immense power. The SOS signal that had guided them here was not only a plea for help, it was a warning of what they might face. Jonas continued to work tirelessly in the communications bay, decoding the SOS in real time. He discovered layers of information embedded within the message, warnings, coordinates of safe zones within the system, and fragmented descriptions of a threat so advanced it defied human understanding. Each revelation added to the growing tension aboard the Aurora. The crew realized that they were dealing with a crisis far beyond a simple rescue. The alien vessel's message was clear. The attackers were still out there, and Earth too could be in danger. Dr. Elias analyzed the readings with a mix of fascination and dread. The alien technology emitted energy patterns unlike anything humans had seen. Some systems still glowed faintly, as if powered by an unknown force. The debris scattered around the vessel contained fragments of what appeared to be weapons, defensive shields, and communication arrays. Each fragment told a story of destruction, hinting at the power and sophistication of the attackers. Elias realized that understanding even a fraction of this technology could be invaluable for humanity, but the risk was enormous. The threat that had destroyed this ship was still active, and their presence might draw attention. Mara moved carefully along the observation deck, peering at the wreckage. She detected faint traces of biological material, evidence that the alien crew had once lived, moved, and fought here. The remnants of life forms were fragmented, their DNA partially degraded. Yet enough remained to suggest that this was once a thriving civilization. Mara felt a pang of sorrow as she imagined the horror that had befallen them. The SOS was not a distant, abstract message anymore. It was the last echo of beings who had faced annihilation. The realization brought a quiet determination. The Aurora's crew must act, both to honor this civilization and to protect humanity from the same fate. The captain convened the crew in the command room. The briefing was tense and serious. She outlined the risks. The attackers were unknown. The alien vessel could be unstable, and the SOS indicated that danger was near. Every decision had to be precise. Even a small mistake could trigger a catastrophic chain of events. The crew understood the gravity of the situation. They were no longer observers. They were active participants in a scenario that could shape the future of human civilization. Their mission had shifted from investigation to immediate response, with the added weight of knowing that lives both alien and human were at stake. The Aurora cautiously approached the alien ship, maneuvering through the debris field with extreme care. Sensors detected residual energy pulses, some of which were unpredictable and potentially dangerous. Every movement was calculated to avoid triggering any remaining defensive systems or destabilizing the ship further. The crew worked in harmony, each member performing their role with precision. The tension was palpable, a silent acknowledgement that the line between survival and disaster was razor-thin. As they neared the core of the alien vessel, the SOS signal intensified. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, guiding them to a central chamber that appeared to house critical systems. Jonas deciphered part of the message, indicating that vital data was stored in this area, information that could reveal the attackers' weaknesses or explain their motives. The captain made the decision to send a small probe first, scanning the interior without exposing the crew to unnecessary risk. The probe transmitted images back to the Aurora, revealing corridors twisted by explosions and technology partially destroyed, yet still operational in some areas. Dr. Elias and Mara analyzed the images, noting patterns in the alien architecture and energy flow. Some systems seemed to react to the probe's presence, as if the vessel itself was alive or aware. The idea was unsettling, but it also suggested that the SOS might be more than a simple message. It could be part of a defensive protocol, designed to summon help while deterring intruders. The crew realized they were dealing with intelligence that was far beyond human design, a civilization that had anticipated dangers and planned contingencies that spanned across space. While the Aurora hovered near the alien ship, strange phenomena began to occur. Energy spikes surged through the system, momentarily disabling some of the Aurora's sensors. Shadows moved across the viewports, though nothing was physically present. The crew experienced unsettling feelings of being watched or guided, sensations that could not be explained scientifically. Even the captain felt a shiver run down her spine, a recognition that this mission was no longer purely about exploration. It was about survival and strategy against an enemy they could barely comprehend. Jonas finally succeeded in fully decoding a section of the SOS. It revealed the story of what had happened to the alien ship, a sudden, overwhelming attack by an advanced fleet capable of destroying entire worlds. The message contained coordinates to safe zones, instructions for survival, and warnings about the attackers' technology. Most importantly, it indicated that the attackers were still active and could pose a threat to other civilizations, including Earth. The crew absorbed this information in silence, the weight of their responsibility pressing down on them. The SOS had not only summoned the Aurora, it had placed humanity directly in the path of a cosmic threat. The crew debated their next steps. Sending a landing team into the alien vessel could provide critical information, but the risks were enormous. The ship could be unstable, booby-trapped, or still partially operational in hostile ways. That Captain weighed the risks carefully. She decided that the Aurora would attempt a cautious entry, using remote drones first to access critical areas. The drones transmitted detailed images and data, revealing intact systems that could provide insights into the attacker's technology and strategy. Each piece of information was carefully analyzed, adding to humanity's understanding while minimizing the immediate danger to the crew. As the investigation continued, the first hints of the attacker's presence became clear. Disturbances in the energy field suggested that the fleet responsible for the destruction was nearby, or at least monitoring the area. Sensors detected unusual movement, almost imperceptible, as if the attackers had left automated reconnaissance systems behind. The crew realized that the threat was not just historical, it was ongoing. The alien civilization had fallen, but the danger that destroyed it had not vanished. Humanity had been pulled into a conflict far beyond anything they had ever imagined. The crew experienced moments of personal reflection. Mara considered the fragility of civilizations, how advanced societies could fall in moments. Despite intelligence and technology, Dr. Elias pondered the potential of learning from the alien systems, imagining how humanity could adapt their discoveries for defense. Jonas felt the weight of translating not just a message, but a warning, bridging the gap between species and ensuring that the SOS fulfilled its purpose. The captain, despite her stoic demeanor, felt the responsibility of command more acutely than ever. Every decision, every maneuver could have consequences far beyond their immediate situation. As the Aurora continued its careful investigation, the scope of the SOS became clear. It was not simply a plea for rescue. It was a call to arms, a warning to any civilization that might follow. The alien vessel, though destroyed, had ensured that its knowledge and message would survive, reaching those capable of understanding and responding. Humanity had become the intended recipient, summoned not just to witness, but to act. The crew realized that this mission would change them, and perhaps all of humanity, forever. The Aurora's sensors detected a critical piece of data, an archive of the alien ship's records, containing detailed information about the attacker's fleet, their strategies, and the devastating capabilities that had annihilated the civilization. This discovery confirmed what the SOS had implied: the threat was real, ongoing, and potentially capable of reaching Earth. The crew absorbed the enormity of the revelation, understanding that the next phase of their mission would not merely be exploration or investigation. Humanity had been summoned into a war it had never anticipated, and the Aurora was now the first line of defense against a force of unimaginable power. The crew prepared for the next step, transmitting the findings back to Earth and mobilizing resources to confront the threat. The SOS had guided them through the unknown, revealed the horror that had occurred, and now demanded action. The Aurora, once a research vessel, had become a crucial participant in humanity's confrontation with the universe's deadliest forces. The crew understood that the story of the alien civilization's fall was now intertwined with their own destiny, and that the challenges ahead would test not only their skills but the resilience of all human civilization. The moment the Aurora transmitted the SOS findings back to Earth, the reality of the situation hit humanity like a shockwave. Scientists, military leaders, and government officials across the planet scrambled to interpret the data, the images, and the warnings sent by the brave crew. The alien vessel's records revealed a fleet capable of destroying entire planets with terrifying efficiency. It was not a distant or hypothetical threat, it was immediate, calculated, and heading toward regions of human colonization. The world that had lived in relative peace suddenly realized that survival was no longer guaranteed, and that humanity would have to act as one to defend itself in cities, spaceports, and command centers across Earth. Preparations began at an unprecedented pace. The nations of the world, often divided by politics and conflicts, found themselves united by necessity. Communication lines buzzed with coordination between military strategists, scientists, engineers, and colony leaders. Fleet designs that had once been theoretical were fast-tracked, weapons and defensive technologies were updated, and training programs for both soldiers and pilots were intensified. Every resource was mobilized, every talent summoned, and every mind focused on one goal: to prepare humanity's ultimate war fleet to face a threat unlike anything they had ever imagined. The fleet itself became a symbol of hope and ingenuity. Massive vessels, equipped with advanced propulsion systems, energy shields, and powerful weaponry, were constructed and retrofitted at astonishing speed. Engineers worked around the clock, refining alien designs recovered from the Aurora's transmissions. Drones, reconnaissance ships, and supply carriers were all integrated into a unified command structure. Scientists collaborated with military strategists to adapt the alien technology, learning how to manipulate energy fields, deploy defensive barriers, and understand the weapons that humanity might soon face. Every vessel, every weapon, and every strategy was influenced by the knowledge carried in the SOS. The leaders of the fleet were chosen with care. Veteran admirals with experience in coordinating large-scale operations, were paired with brilliant scientists and tactical officers. Meetings were held in vast strategy rooms, where holographic displays projected the alien fleet, its formation, and potential attack vectors. The admirals studied the records meticulously, analyzing strengths, weaknesses, and patterns in the enemy's approach. They knew that victory would require not just brute force, but intelligence, ingenuity, and unity. No single nation, no single colony, could withstand the threat alone. Humanity would have to fight as one. Meanwhile, the public became aware of the threat, and reactions varied. Fear swept through populations, but it was tempered by determination. Citizens contributed to the effort in countless ways, volunteering, building support systems, working in research labs, and assisting in logistical operations. The planet experienced a surge of collective energy and purpose, a realization that survival depended on every individual's contribution. Children watched broadcasts of the fleet being mobilized, dreaming of the day they might serve in its ranks. Humanity's resolve was strengthened by the clarity of the danger they faced, and by the courage of the Aurora's crew, who had ventured into the unknown and returned with a warning that could not be ignored back on the Aurora. The crew observed these developments with a mixture of pride and anxiety. They had been the first to witness the devastation, to understand the SOS's significance, and to recognize the threat. Now, humanity was mobilizing on a scale that none of them had ever imagined. Yet the sense of urgency remained. They knew that time was limited. The attackers were still active, and Earth and its colonies could not afford delay. The crew coordinated with fleet leaders, providing critical intelligence, translating alien strategies, and offering insights based on their direct observations. Their role had expanded from exploration to crucial advisors in humanity's defense. Strategy training the fleet was a monumental challenge. Pilots practiced maneuvers in simulated battlefields designed to mirror the alien fleet's tactics. Soldiers trained in the use of both human and adapted alien weaponry. Communication protocols were tested and retested, ensuring coordination across thousands of vessels spread across vast distances in space. Scientists ran countless simulations, trying to predict the attackers' behavior, their potential targets, and the weaknesses that could be exploited. Every day brought new discoveries, new challenges, and a growing understanding that humanity's survival depended on ingenuity, cooperation, and courage. Amid the preparation, stories of heroism began to emerge. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged ships, often improvising solutions that blended human creativity with alien technology. Scientists collaborated in new ways, combining fields of knowledge to create innovative defenses. Ordinary citizens on Earth and its colonies performed small but essential tasks, maintaining communications, providing supplies, and supporting the massive effort. These contributions, while unseen on the battlefield, were crucial to the success of the ultimate war fleet. Humanity was learning, adapting, and growing stronger together, as the SOS had intended. During this period, the crew of the Aurora continued to explore the alien system, uncovering additional information about the attackers. They discovered remnants of automated defense mechanisms, advanced drones, and intelligence archives that contained battle strategies and energy patterns. Each discovery was immediately transmitted back to Earth, further enhancing the fleet's readiness. The crew's efforts highlighted the importance of knowledge in the coming conflict. Understanding the enemy was as vital as the weapons humanity was assembling. As the fleet neared completion, the first exercises in real combat simulations were conducted. Ships moved in coordinated formations, testing strategies derived from the alien archives. Pilots navigated complex patterns, dodging simulated attacks, coordinating with one another, and practicing rapid responses to unexpected situations. The simulations were designed to test both technology and human ingenuity, pushing the crew and fleet members to their limits. Mistakes were studied, strategies adjusted, and new tactics implemented. Each exercise brought humanity closer to readiness, reinforcing the belief that they could face the unknown and emerge victorious. The psychological impact of preparation was significant. For many, fear lingered beneath the surface, a reminder of the alien threat that loomed in the shadows. Yet, alongside fear, there was pride, determination, and unity. Humanity had never faced a challenge of this scale before, and yet the collective response was nothing short of extraordinary. Citizens, soldiers, scientists, and leaders alike understood that their survival depended on courage, innovation, and trust in one another. This unity became as vital as any weapon or shield, a force that could turn the tide in the battles to come in parallel. Diplomatic channels were established between Earth and its colonies. Coordinating a defense across multiple worlds required unprecedented collaboration. Resources were shared, strategies synchronized, and communication networks fortified. Humanity was learning to operate as a single, cohesive entity, prepared to confront an enemy that had destroyed entire civilizations before. The SOS had done more than summon a fleet. It had ignited a transformation in humanity itself, creating a level of cooperation and readiness never seen before. The final preparations were intense. Ships were fueled, weapons systems calibrated, and defensive shields tested. Fleet formations were finalized, with specialized vessels assigned to reconnaissance, assault, and defense roles. The Aurora's crew continued to provide critical guidance, analyzing new data and predicting potential threats. The scale of the effort was staggering. Thousands of vessels, millions of personnel, and countless technologies were now aligned toward a single purpose. Humanity had become a force prepared to confront the ultimate threat, guided by the SOS and the courage of those who had first answered it. The first wave of the ultimate war fleet prepared to depart Earth's orbit. The atmosphere was tense but charged with anticipation. Citizens watched as ships lifted into space, carrying humanity's hope, technology, and courage into the unknown. The fleet represented the culmination of human ingenuity, determination, and unity. The SOS had done more than summon help. It had catalyzed the creation of a force capable of confronting a threat that no single nation, no single colony, could face alone. The crew of the Aurora, having witnessed the mobilization from start to finish, felt a profound sense of responsibility. Their journey had begun with a single signal, a desperate call for help from an unknown civilization. That signal had led to the discovery of an unprecedented threat, and now it had inspired humanity to prepare on a scale never imagined. The phase ended with a mixture of anticipation, hope, and solemn awareness. The fleet was ready, but the real test, the ultimate confrontation, was still ahead. The SOS had summoned humanity's greatest effort, and the universe was about to respond. The ultimate war fleet moved as a single, massive entity through the cold void of space, a symbol of humanity's unity and resolve. Thousands of vessels, from immense capital ships to small agile fighters, glided along predetermined paths, each equipped with weapons, shields, and systems designed to counter the threat they had been summoned to face. The fleet's formation was a testament to human ingenuity and cooperation. Every pilot, every engineer, every crew member understood the stakes. Failure was not an option, and survival depended on precision, strategy, and courage. On board the Aurora, the crew watched the fleet through the observation decks, their eyes reflecting the vast lines of ships stretching into the distance. The captain felt a surge of pride mixed with apprehension. Humanity had responded to the SOS in a way that no one could have predicted. The fleet represented not just technological advancement, but the collective spirit and determination of an entire species. Yet she knew that the real test was still ahead. The alien attackers, the force that had destroyed the unknown civilization and sent the SOS, were out there, and they were waiting. Jonas monitored the communications channels tirelessly. Signals from Earth and the fleet's command centers poured in, carrying final instructions, updates on ship readiness, and reports from reconnaissance probes. Each transmission was analyzed and relayed to ensure perfect coordination. He was the link between the fleet and the knowledge gathered from the alien SOS, ensuring that every piece of information was used to humanity's advantage. The faint patterns of the alien strategies, which had been meticulously decoded, guided the fleet's maneuvers, creating an advantage that could make the difference between victory and annihilation. Dr. Elias continued to study the alien technology through the data relayed from the Aurora's sensors. He discovered subtle energy fluctuations in the enemy's known patterns, revealing weaknesses that human engineers could exploit. The alien fleet was powerful, but it was not infallible. Each vulnerability identified was shared with the commanders, integrated into the tactical simulations, and used to design new strategies for the upcoming confrontation. It was a race against time, combining human ingenuity with the alien knowledge, ensuring that the fleet could strike decisively when the moment came. As the fleet approached the system where the SOS had originated, tension grew palpable. The alien presence was sensed before it could be seen. Energy spikes, gravitational distortions, and unusual radiation patterns indicated that the attackers were aware of humanity's approach. Pilots reported strange anomalies in navigation instruments, while sensors detected intermittent signals that seemed almost like warnings. The crew aboard the Aurora realized that the attackers were not passive. They were monitoring, testing, and preparing for confrontation. Every member of the fleet braced for the moment when theory would meet reality. The first engagement began with sudden intensity. Enemy ships emerged from stealth positions, striking at the edges of the fleet with precision and overwhelming force. Explosions lit up space as human and alien weaponry collided. Pilots executed maneuvers they had rehearsed thousands of times, dodging energy blasts and coordinating counterattacks. Capital ships unleashed massive barrages, while smaller fighters weaved through debris and enemy fire. The tactics learned from the SOS, combined with human ingenuity and adaptive thinking, allowed the fleet to hold formation and repel the initial assault. Every victory, however small, carried the weight of survival. Every loss a reminder of the stakes. On board the Aurora, the crew directed reconnaissance drones to analyze enemy formations, identifying weaknesses and relaying real-time data to the fleet commanders. Jonas's hands moved rapidly across consoles, decoding energy signatures and predicting enemy maneuvers. Mara observed the battle through external sensors, studying the behavior of alien systems, while Dr. Elias calculated optimal attack patterns to exploit weaknesses. Their work directly influenced the battlefield. turning knowledge into action and ensuring that humanity's response was both strategic and effective. The battle raged with unpredictable intensity. Alien ships displayed advanced maneuvering and weaponry, forcing the fleet to adapt quickly. Human vessels executed complex coordinated strategies, using decoys, energy shields, and counterattacks to survive and strike back. Moments of tension arose when entire squadrons faced ambushes, but training, preparation, and the insights gained from the SOS allowed them to recover and retaliate. Each maneuver, each decision, had immediate consequences, and every member of the fleet was acutely aware that their actions could tip the balance between survival and disaster. Amid the chaos, acts of heroism emerged. Pilots risked their lives to protect larger vessels. Engineers repaired critical systems under fire, and communications officers ensured coordination despite constant disruption. The battle was not fought solely with weapons. It was fought with courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. The SOS, which had once been a faint, distant call for help, had guided humanity to this moment. It had not only warned them but had prepared them to act with precision and unity. The turning point came when the Kurora detected a critical command ship among the enemy fleet. Its energy patterns were unlike the others, and the SOS data suggested it coordinated the attacker's forces. Dr. Elias quickly calculated a strategy to disable it. Combining human technology with insights from the alien archives, the fleet executed a coordinated attack. Diversionary squads drew enemy fire, while specialized vessels struck at the command ship's weak points. Explosions rocked the enemy formation, and communications among their fleet began to falter. Humanity's coordinated efforts, informed by the knowledge of the SOS and guided by strategy, gave them a decisive edge. That as the battle progressed, the intensity increased. Some human ships were lost, reminders of the deadly power they faced. But each loss strengthened the resolve of the remaining forces. Pilots adapted on the fly, using ingenuity and skill to survive encounters that no simulation could fully replicate. The fleet moved as a cohesive organism, each part aware of the whole, responding to the enemy's unpredictable actions with precision and courage. The SOS had not only summoned humanity's fleet, it had prepared them mentally, strategically, and technologically for the ultimate confrontation. On board the Aurora, the crew experienced moments of awe and fear. They watched as entire squadrons executed maneuvers that seemed impossible, yet succeeded through coordination and innovation. The scale of the conflict, the technology involved, and the stakes were beyond anything they had imagined when the SOS first reached them. They realized that the fate of not only Earth but countless human colonies rested on their ability to act decisively, to analyze information, and to guide the fleet through the chaos of battle. As the enemy command ship fell, the alien fleet's cohesion began to crumble. Disorganized, weakened, and without central guidance, the attackers were pushed back, retreating in scattered formations. Humanity's fleet, though battered and weary, held its ground. Pilots cheered through comms channels, engineers and scientists celebrated minor victories, and the Aurora's crew felt the immense satisfaction of knowing that their efforts had directly influenced the outcome. The SOS had guided humanity to survival, turning a distant plea for help into the catalyst for victory against overwhelming odds. After the battle, the fleet regrouped, assessing losses and tending to the wounded. Human technology, strategy, and courage had proven sufficient against an enemy that had annihilated another civilization. The Aurora transmitted detailed reports back to Earth, sharing insights gained from the confrontation. The SOS, once a mysterious signal from the void, had become a guiding beacon, ensuring humanity not only survived but learned and adapted. Humanity had proven its resilience, unity, and ability to rise to a challenge beyond comprehension. In the aftermath, reflection and analysis dominated the fleet. The victory came at a cost, but it reinforced the importance of preparation, knowledge, and collaboration. The SOS had summoned humanity, not merely to respond, but to grow, to adapt, and to demonstrate the strength of a united species. The Aurora's crew felt a profound sense of accomplishment, knowing that their courage, skill, and commitment had directly contributed to a turning point in human history. That as the fleet returned to Earth, the victory was celebrated across colonies and nations. Humanity had faced a threat unlike any before and had emerged stronger, wiser, and more united. The SOS, a simple signal from a distant civilization, had become a catalyst for humanity's greatest triumph. It had summoned not just a fleet, but courage, ingenuity, and the collective determination of an entire species. The universe had tested humanity, and humanity had risen to the challenge. The story ended with the understanding that the cosmos was vast, unpredictable, and full of mysteries and dangers yet to be discovered. The SOS had been a warning, a call for help, and a lesson. Unity, knowledge, and courage were humanity's greatest weapons, and while the battle was won, the universe still held countless unknowns, waiting to test those who dared to explore, respond, and defend. Humanity had faced its ultimate test and prevailed, forever changed by the signal that had summoned them to action.